And
Has anybody seen the top post of Andor right now? Star Wars subreddit. Politics is banned. Andor subreddit. Tie me to a missile and fire it at Tel Aviv. I am ready. Oh my God. 5,000 upvotes. Let's fucking go. By the way, did you see this, chat? Did you guys see this? Speaking of Andor.
A little earlier this week, I was able to talk to Denise Gough, who is an Irish actress. Many people may know her.
Hassan, has Hassan watched Andor? He needs to get her on his stream and bring me on. Come on, Hassan. I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. He's got to get her on, and I need to be there.
From Andor. It was earlier this week. That's why I have a different shirt on. So anyone in the comments, just relax. But nonetheless, we were able to talk to her about her solidarity with the Palestinian people and why she is choosing to take this time to speak out on behalf of those facing genocide. And as we continue the show here, we are very
honestly, to take the moment when you are in the height of your career, when you've been a character actor and you've been struggling she's a successful actress, but she's at the height of her success, and to step out and say, hey, the show I just made about rebellion applies to the Palestinian people, is unbelievably goated. Unbelievably goated. She is the fucking queen of all queens. She's also Yennefer in The Witcher 3. I don't have parasocial crushes much, but Denise.
very honored to be joined by the Irish actress. Many of us know her from Andor, Denise Gough. Denise, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. And, I'll start with maybe what seems like a pretty obvious question, but why speak out about the genocide in Gaza now? Why is it important for you to use the platform that you have?
Well, I've been, since October 7th, I only joined Instagram.
It's the wrong actress. She's not Yennefer. People are saying she's Yennefer. People saying she's not Yennefer.
Little before then, and I'd always had a real issue with Instagram. I find it really difficult, and so I was trying to use it for like promoting work that maybe wouldn't get seen or whatever, and I have to combine it with a bit of self-promotion for my job. But then after October 7th, which was awful, I just went deep into like an education, more of an education than what I'd had before. And it became pretty clear. I was vocal pretty quickly about using the word genocide too, and it was really scary to use it when we were not allowed to. It feels like now there is a bit of the tide is turning a bit, and people are less afraid to speak up, and I think that's down to the kind of groundswell of people deciding.
Look at how much pressure people are under this Zionist boot to lie about kids being killed. These fucking Zionist scum, man. Like legitimately disgusting. You can't speak about a war going out because you're going to get fired because of this scum. Ugh.
We've had enough. And if we feel that way, can you imagine?
That's why I've always been a little bit more focused on, maybe this is uncharacteristically nice. Maybe I'm being uncharacteristically nice, but I tend to like to uplift the people that are brave rather than whine about other people. You know what I mean? Like, I tend to like when somebody steps up and says something, I don't know why, I like to focus on the positives and the people that are being brave. I like to focus on praising them. You know what I mean? Maybe this is like it's out of character for me, but like, I feel like what we need is when people speak out on these issues that they get bear hugged with love. I think you should get famous for support for being brave and standing up to Israelis and to the Zionist lobby. I feel like we should be bear hugging these people and protecting them and demand they get more work. That's my opinion.
And what it's like for those poor people under constant attack, So I don't really have a choice. It feels to me, I don't have a choice. I have to say something. And also what I will say too is we're being asked by Palestinian people to speak. And so in years to come, when people say, I didn't know what to do, it's like, but we know what we're being asked to do. Palestinian people, the videos I see of women standing on rubble with their arms outstretched saying, please, please speak up. So I'm sort of doing what they are asking me to do. That's what I'm doing. Because it's not easy. I will also say that I'm nervous. I'm channeling that boy, Logan Rosas, who used his graduation at NYU to speak up. I mean, God, love him. How amazing that he did that. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking, but it's
yeah,
not
I saw that, Adam.
It's not even a touch of what is going on for them. Like,
No, I think it's a good point, and I want to pick up on something you mentioned about how you went into a period of education and learning and trying to find things out. And I was wondering if you could tell us maybe a little bit more about that journey, about, you know, learning about Palestine, how it changed your life, all the things that you were able to pick up on once you started looking deeper.
Yeah, so
it is really fucked up that you have to be ready to lose everything to say what has been happening to the Palestinians is inhumane. How do you think genocides happen? I think the understudied element of genocide is how institutions of international law, the media, cultures are warped to make those calling out the genocide criminal. It's not apathy. It's active repression of those who protest. And it's usually international. And that is the reality. That's why this genocide has been able to go on so long and be supported with American money while Americans oppose it. I'm sorry for spamming, but that's how they're going to defend supporting it. And you know what I'm going to say to that? Every single fucking centrist scum must be purged. I'm not talking about regular people. I want you to make this be very clear. If you're a regular person, you're not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about our political class. I'm not talking about regular people. I'm talking about politicians. They are scum and they've got to fucking go.
I've done a film when I was 23 called The Shooting of Thomas Herndl, or maybe I was 24, and it was about a young man who was killed by the Israeli army, I think 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I was out in Jordan, but I was young. And I remember being in Jordan and sitting with a member of the ISM, the International Solidarity Movement, and a member of the IDF, and thinking, this feels really tense. Like, what? You know, we're making a film. So I was sort of trying to make small talk. I mean, my God. And that film taught me a lot, but I was on my own personal journey in my life at the time, so I wasn't politicized yet. And so in the last 19 months, I try to read everything I can read. Like, if you can't handle, sometimes the history can be a lot to take on. So I read a book like this, We're Not Numbered, which is people's stories. It's really easy to get into The Question of Palestine by Edward Said. This tiny little book by Palestinian children, A Million Kites. And I watch everything. I try every week to watch something, because it's a lot to take on, and we have to look after ourselves.
Whenever you say centrist scum, I remember this distinction you made.
You think
let's finish her talking about Gaza, because she's so cool. She's so fucking cool. We're kind of ADHDing between different videos. Sorry. One of the things about streaming, and I don't know if it's wrong or if it's something that's a strength of mine, is just kind of letting the conversation flow where it goes without trying to be too rigid. I've been experimenting with more like just being more ADHD. Have you shown chat Hot Girls for Zoran? Okay, I'll put that in the queue. I have never felt more on the side of the Palestinian cause than after watching this. I understand resistance in a way I never had before. I am aware the writers drew from many oppressions and genocides. But we are experiencing a genocide in real time right before our eyes, funded by U.S. taxpayers and carried out by the current Israeli government. This has 5,000 upvotes on the Andor. I think it's safe to say that Andor is the best show that the mainstream has put out in a very long time. It's not that it's the most... I mean, I like it artistically. I enjoy the show from an entertainment point of view. I respect the show from dialogue and everything. I like the show, period. The fact that it's causing people to post this way, and the way it's affecting their politics, shows that it's effective. I've never felt more on the side of the Palestinian... Let me drink some water first before I read. I've never felt more on the side of the Palestinian cause than after watching this show, which was masterfully written. It showed me the side of resistance we often grapple with, the side where resistance more often than not becomes an armed resistance, when the peaceful part of resistance doesn't get you anywhere. When your land is taken forcibly, when your city is besieged, when your land, sea, and air borders are controlled by an occupying entity, and you are left with one choice: to fight back. Even if the empire, the Israel and the US, is overwhelmingly stronger, more powerful, and better funded. Cassian and Luthen were both part of the resistance that each questionably had to end the lives of people who otherwise could or should have lived. While I know this story is fictional, it brings out a truth we often avoid. Resistance is rarely clean or easy. It never comes without moral compromise. When you are fighting an empire, you do not get to choose the terms. You are forced into the shadows, pushed into impossible choices, and made to sacrifice lives so others have a future. The writers did not glorify rebellion, they humanized it, a constant theme throughout the Star Wars franchise, but especially so in Andor. It showed how resistance comes at a cost. It reminded me that every act of defiance is someone wrestling with the weight of it, someone who has lost too much already to stop standing still. And maybe this is why it hits so hard. Because right now in Gaza, people are making those same impossible choices. When your children are bombed to smithereens, starved to death, your hospitals destroyed, your homes flattened, and the world either watches in silence or arms your oppressor, resistance stopped being about right or wrong. It becomes survival. And no, Gaza's oppression did not begin after October 7th. The resistance was born out of the oppression they'd been experiencing for decades, long before it ever made mainstream news. Andor is not a story. It's a reflection of history, of now, of what it means to live under occupation and still choose to fight back, even when you are outmatched in every way. And for me, the show did not just entertain, it awakened. It reminded me that in every generation, there are those who will resist, not because they want to, but because they have to. In constellation with the rest of the mod team, I'm going to be exploring through moderation of this thread what happens when we take a more active stance about removing posts that are clearly not related to Andor and are sorely making points related to real world events. We're enforcing our rules more strictly. Oh, is that right? Wow. Well, thank you, Jamie1138. Where else do we post besides Andor? Okay, so I'm not trying to bust this guy. Netanyahu government has arrested low convicted any of the IDF snipers who admitted they murdered children. Very true. Okay, this guy seems cool. Mike is not a Redditor. Yeah, I'm not a Redditor. Asmongold called me out. Oh no! Oh no, Asmongold called me out. Oh no, he called me out. I would love to see the Asmongold post, which no one gives a fuck. He's so dickless, dude. He's so dickless. Oh, the mold man. Well, yes, he is surrounded by rotting cockroaches and rats. The rotted one. It's good content. Yes, you should link it to me. You should link it to me, please. Please do. Oh, man. One of the things that I really did like about Andor, it's very clearly, did you hear about Canadian police? Yeah, as soon as I see an indictment, then I'll care.
To be able to bear witness.
Check behind your fridge. There might be more of his opinion back there. No, I vacuum and mop my floors and clean my kitchen. There are no pests in my place. So
I can't watch everything all the time, but I try to read 20 or 50 pages a day of a book that educates me. I watch a documentary. The most recent I watched was Voices from Gaza, which was made in 2014. It's devastating. You're essentially watching people live in a concentration camp. It's terrifying. Also Ambulance, which was made many years ago. Everything to teach me how long this has been going on. And so education is key. And also I follow, now that I'm on Instagram, I follow people like Norman Finkelstein, who's a leading voice as an American Jewish man who lost his family in the Holocaust. Gabor Mate also. I seek out voices more educated, more informed than me, because I'm just a person who happens to have a modest Instagram following and who is in the public eye slightly. So I don't try, and I can't solve this thing, you know. And last night I watched something.
God, she's cool.
Mate gave a talk, and he said that before Jesus there was a Jewish sage called Hillel, and he said, the task is not yours to finish, the task of healing the world. but neither are you free not to take part in it.
Mm.
And it really struck me. I'm a human being. I'm not a politician. I'm not as educated as Gabor Mate or Norman Finkelstein. I don't have as much influence as many, but I am a person, and I'm finding it really, really hard to do nothing. So I have to do everything I can do. Because, I don't have children. So I'm not going to have my children come to me in years to come and say, what did you do? I'm going to have me in the mirror.
Mm.
I'm going to be the person asking that of myself. And already I feel like I don't do enough. And I have to be careful of expecting too much of myself. But I do know, like when I look at Ireland, for example, like Ireland has been incredibly vocal and supportive from the get-go and throughout history. I think because our own history is so linked. I only found out recently of that history. Like the black and tans who were employed to terrorize Irish civilians after the War of Independence were then sent to Palestine. So we were terrorized by the same army. So I'm really proud of the power of, and also they can serve as an example. The Irish society at the moment are serving as an example of what can happen when there is a groundswell of people. They have not let up, and as a result now the Irish government are taking action, concrete action, because we're hearing a lot of words, aren't we? We're all hearing these words, and I'm grateful at least we're hearing the words, but people can change things, but we need people. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I said, social media totally freaks me out. But
the thing that I would say, it's like some people have asked me like, oh, do you think her studying this genocide makes her able to portray a fascist better? And the answer is the reason why she was able to play her character so well is because she's empathetic, because she is thoughtful. That's why actors typically are left wing, because to occupy a character, the best way to do that with verisimilitude, which means a feeling of realness, is if you actually can empathize and experience emotions of that character. You could embody that character's perspectives and worldviews. I actually watched another video she made, and she discussed her techniques for the character she created, and she said she read a lot about female sociopaths. She read a lot about how sociopathy is different in women versus men, and occupying that kind of mental space. She studied spycraft. She studied people who were engaged in these kind of organizations. She read about how people can bifurcate their official actions from their personal life. So she approached her character as a real human being, and that is why she was able to play the character so well. And also she's got those blue piercing eyes. I got it, Philos. Thank you, man.
But if I'm going to use it for self-promotion, then I also have to use it for the promotion of the rights of other people, Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm talking a lot.
No. Listen, it's totally fine, and I also want to say I really appreciate you holding up the book We Are Numbers, and of course I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize here Rifat Al-Arir, who is a part of the We Are Numbers project. We Are Not Numbers project.
Who was assassinated.
And it's an important book, and I also just want to shout out those folks because they've played a huge role also in building solidarity between Black people here in the United States facing racist police terrorism, the George Floyd uprising, which we just passed 5 years of. They've raised that issue in Palestine so much, so many of those young writers and artists and others.
That's also something to that when the Black Lives Matter movement took real came up again a few years ago after George Floyd, we were asked by people of color, as white people, we were asked to educate ourselves, to stop asking people of color to tell us what to do. We had to do it. And I believe a lot of us did do that. We read the books. There's always more to be done, of course. But what has been difficult, I think, with this situation is that my fear is that people don't do the same for Palestinians. You know, we have the books available, we have the documentaries, we have the evidence of what is going on.
This is the question I think that people are asking themselves so significantly, you know, because it's everyone wants to act, everyone wants to do more, everyone wants to feel like they're making a difference in the face of something that it's impossible to describe. So then sometimes you feel people aren't moving, and the question is how do we get people moving? And I think that's an important question for us to ask, because as you said, if we don't have the people, we can't make the change.
Yeah, and also we do have to be compassionate to people. Like it's easier when when you've started vocalizing and you've started doing that thing, it can be easy to turn to other people and go, you should be doing this and you should be, but actually everyone is where they're at. You know, Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about the levels of deception, you know, and I feel like we're all at different levels, you know, of what information we have been given, what we've been able to seek out, what we're able to handle at any given time. You know, I get messages from people saying, you know, I've got 3 kids and I work a full-time job and I just don't think I can take that level of intensity. And I want to say to them, I get it. I understand. I don't want to say to anyone, you should have been here sooner. Just show up when you can. Like, but please make it soon. And I feel better speaking about it. I feel better being part of the people that are talking about it. There is a safety in that. There is a safety and there is a compassion in that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like I just want people to be kind to each other while we step up.
No, I think it makes perfect sense. And it brings me to, you know, one of the things I wanted to ask you about as we start to close out here. And that is maybe a message for fellow artists, because, you know, we're seeing, you know, obviously people like Kehlani under significant attack, you know, Kneecap, also Irish, in a similar situation. We're seeing all sorts of people who are in the cultural realm, cultural workers, a lot of pushback. But at the same time, we're seeing maybe more figures from arts and entertainment speaking out than we have in the past. So, you know, as someone who's in a similar space, in a similar world, I wonder just how you speak to those folks, those who are artists as well, wondering about how to use or if they should use their platform.
There's a huge fear, and I share that fear. I'm sitting here with you, and my heart is racing. I'm really anxious, but what we're living through is a very specific thing, and I have to believe that regardless, I have to believe that I will find the people that I'm meant to be working with. It's like the difference between the gang and the tribe, you know? Maybe the gang are going to shut me out, and maybe the gang are going to cause problems for people, but the tribe won't. The tribe will find me. You know, I will find my people through this by speaking up for what I believe in. I'll find the people that I'm meant to be with. And I've been broke and all of those things before. I don't want to be that again, but if that is the price I have to pay.
She's so fucking cool. We have got to get her on Hassan's stream or my stream. I don't want to be on more media. Why does everyone on Instagram? I'm not a person who will ever post Instagram shit. Like, why?
For standing on the right side of history, then I'm gonna have to pay that price if that's what comes. So it's okay to be afraid, is what I'm saying. I guess we're all afraid, but we can all help each other with that. You know, we can help each other with that.
That's so important.
If that's like helped people to come forward or not, I don't. I just know that it's better. It's better to be on the right side of history.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think you know, listen, there's a saying about some of these things: when you put yourself out there, if you're not a little afraid, then that's when you know you're in trouble. Because if you're taking a risk, it's good to know you're taking a risk and not to be doing something, you know, just to be doing it. But yeah, I appreciate that.
And just to finish, it's like, isn't there a quote like, speak even if your voice shakes? Didn't somebody say that?
It sounds right. If I don't know who it is, but whoever it was, they were very sound of mind when they said that, because I think that's the most important things. And I think this has been important. And I really appreciate that we have found you, that you were willing to find us here and Breakthrough News. And Denise, we really, really appreciate you joining us here on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks.